Hello, hello. I am Javon. This is the Forever Getting Better podcast, and this is episode 5, which will be about self-awareness and one of the tools that you can use in order to gain a little more self-awareness. There's a lot of them out there, but the reason why I think this is important is because in the last episode we were talking about doing the hard things or doing the difficult things and why you want to do the things that you don't want to do. But the thing is like, sometimes those things can go completely unmissed, and it'll be difficult to identify those things because we don't truly know who we are. We don't have enough self-awareness in order to truly be able to pinpoint some of those things that would benefit us that we may or may not be subconsciously or consciously avoiding. So one of the metrics that you can use, there are a bunch of them, right? So of course, like there's regular introspection or meditation, which works for some, but there's not a lot of structure there. Another one that you can use would be like human design. I know there's a lot of people out there who are a fan of human design. And then zodiacs and stuff kind of work too. The thing that I don't really like about zodiacs in particular is like, I feel like it's just a little, Enneagram, zodiacs, it's not specific enough. Like I want specificity whenever I'm looking for a metric that's going to help me identify what my strengths and faults are. Like that's really what I'm talking about when I'm talking about using a tool for self-awareness. So it's kind of dated now, but there was if you know me personally, you know this is something that I really like. It's a metric that exists in behavioral psychology, or an evaluation or test that exists within behavioral psychology called Myers-Briggs, right? So you have MBTI, which is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or some people know it as 16 personalities. Or the 16 personality assessment. And you can actually take it at 16personalities.com, like 16, it's the numbers, not the words, right? But 16, the digits, personalities.com. And if you go there, it's a free personality test that you can take, and it'll tell you like what your Myers-Briggs type indicator is. Okay, so what is Myers-Briggs and why does it matter? Well, in behavioral psychology, there was a guy, I think maybe like 50 or 60 years ago. His name was Carl Jung. So Carl Jung was this guy who just like did a lot of high level research on a bunch of different individuals, trying to figure out like what the different personalities were, what made them different, what made them tick, what were the different ways that they made decisions, how did they process information, and then how did that ultimately affect their identity and who they are and the people that they hung out with, etc. Right? From his research, we actually didn't get too much initially. It was only later, like after he passed away, there were two women who found his research, right? Elizabeth Myers and Isabel Briggs, who were actually a mother and daughter. And they eventually found Carl Jung's research and then decided to categorize and organize his research. They did some testing of their own, some verification of their own, and from that they were able to essentially organize the sets of information that he had into 16 different personality types that are effectively supposed to more or less encompass human beings. Right. So it doesn't mean that we aren't unique. It doesn't mean that we still don't have idiosyncrasies and origins and things about us, quirks that make us one of a kind. But for the sake of figuring out how one is able to effectively navigate through life, well, there's this metric that helps you kind of figure out who you are, which is what this is about, right? It's about self-awareness. Well, the thing is, from these 16 personalities are devised into effectively 4 different letter groupings, right? Which can be comprised of one of 8 letters. So basically you can be, it'll be like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 letters that represent you. I'm trying to do this over sound and I'm making hand gestures, but maybe I can do this verbally, right? And so the first letter designation is going to be either an I or an E, indicating whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. The way I like to describe this is not based on whether you enjoy human interaction or not. It's not about whether you're somebody who likes speaking to people or not. It's about how you recharge your batteries. And this is just my personal, everything that I'm about to say is based off my personal my personal interpretation. It doesn't make it 100% right or resolute. Like, I highly encourage anybody to do their own research if they feel comfortable doing so. That being said, this is the way that I understand things, and it's worked for me. So when it comes to that I or E indicator, it's going to be an indication as to whether you recharge your batteries by talking to other people, or if you recharge your batteries in solitude. And so I know no one asked, right? But I am an introvert. So I am somebody who recharges their batteries by themselves. That being said, I love people. I love talking to people. I love making friends. I love being out in public. It's just that I only have so much energy before I need to go somewhere. Otherwise, I'll get cranky. That's really what happens for me, is like, I'll just get kind of moody. And then if you don't know that I'm an introvert, it'll seem like it's out of nowhere. I'm also really good at, like, being cognizant and aware of where my battery is. So that's not typically an issue. But anyway, the second indicator is going to be the intuitive or the sensing indicator. So it's either going to be an N or an S, right? And so intuitive people are the kind of people who really like focusing on big pictures. They like focusing on patterns, they like focusing on concepts. They like talking about things like philosophy and religion and effectively ideas, right? These are people who usually have their head in the clouds. One would say, and by the way, like, these letter designations are very stark, right? They're going to be polar opposites of each other, but this entire thing is a spectrum. I think that's important to say. Like, it's 100% possible for you to be 49% introverted and 51% extroverted, and then the indicator would just say, like, you're an extrovert, when in reality you're pretty balanced. So, but this is, once again, it's just a self-awareness metric. And actually, the next episode is going to be about overcoming self-limiting beliefs, because, like, if you look too strongly into this stuff, then it starts to prevent you from making actual progress, which involves actually overcoming your weaknesses and deficits. But anyway, going back to talking about my personal indicators. So there is the intuitive type, which is the pattern recognizer, and the philosophical type, and the kind that focuses on ideas. And then you have the sensing type. And the sensing kind of person is someone who's, like, very observant. They like to really think about what's in front of them. And when it comes to abstract concepts or ideas, it's not something that they really like to focus on or really tend to understand, right? So once again, these are complete opposites. You can be somebody who is sensing and still have like some curiosity or interest in larger concepts or ideas. That's 100% possible. I'm just saying, like, generally stereotyped, somebody who's 100% sensing is like, I'm in the here and now, and somebody who's 100% intuitive is going to be like, I think about the past and patterns in future, right? And those are, like, the main differences if I were to summarize them. The next one is going to be, like, decision making, right? So the first two is really about like how we or I guess that intuitive or sensing is really about, like, the kind of information that we like to process and the kind of information that we pay attention to. The next one is going to be about how we use it when interacting with the world around us. And so you have the emotional decision maker and the logical decision maker. And so these are the T and the F designations. T standing for thinking and F standing for feeling, right? And so I am a T, I am a logical decision maker. And then for the last indicator, this is going to be about like, this kind of also goes into decision making and also how one uses information, absorbs and uses information. It's kind of a combination of those things. But you have the P and the J, right? So P is prospecting, and you have J, which is the judging. And so in order to kind of define these, I would say that the P person, the prospector, is somebody who really likes analysis. They like looking at ideas and concepts and things in general, right? Figuring out the why of things is very important to them. The thing about someone who is a P, if I just need to go into their cons, I think that's the best way to kind of define them, is really talking about the pros and the cons. So Ps are very good at changing their minds and swapping to the most optimal thing. If they find something that's better, then they will do that. The issue with Ps is that because they're so quick to change their minds and swap from one thing to another, they have the tendency to not completely finish things, right? So the issue with the P is that they kind of change their mind too much sometimes, right? And this leads to unfinished products and unfinished ideas at times. Now you have your J person, right? And so the judging personality, like the judging personality or the judging person, is going to be someone who sways in the opposite direction. they get information about something and they're ready to use it, right? So these are your doers, right? They're not prospectors. They're not people who analyze. They're not people who really ask why. They're just ready to do. And so the issue with the judging personality type, if we're going to talk about their cons, right, is that they have the tendency to move forward. And if what they're doing is not the best or the most efficient, it's too late. They already made up their mind, and they have the tendency to be very stubborn. There can be a better way of doing something, but if you're dealing with a judging personality, like, it really will take some effort to convince them to try something different once they've decided on a way of doing things. So if we're going to summarize the different indicators, I and E are going to be your introvert and extrovert, and that basically has to do with how you recharge your batteries. The N and the S are basically, that's your intuitive and your sensing. So what kind of information do you like absorbing, right? Do you like staying in the moment and paying attention to what's in front of you, or do you like concepts and patterns and ideas? And then how do you make decisions? Are you a logical or an emotional decision maker? And last but not least is essentially how that affects, or like what you like doing, whether it's through, whether it's analysis and figuring out what's best or most efficient, or if you just like getting straight to doing stuff, which definitely isn't always best or efficient, but it is what gets things done. So, well, you can go to 16personalities.com and you can take this assessment in order to figure out what your personality type is. And then one thing that's really cool about that, if you want to dive a level deeper, is you can go to some other websites or even just Google to look into cognitive functions. And so what this will do is tell you the cognitive functions, which there are 8 in total, but there are essentially 4 that each personality has. And when you look at the cognitive functions, it'll tell you like, okay, well, these are basically the ways in which you process information and use them throughout the world, right? And so there is there's introverted, it's like introverted feeling, introverted thinking, extroverted feeling, extroverted thinking, introverted sensing, extroverted sensing, or extroverted sensing, introverted sensing, and then extroverted intuition and introverted intuition. And I believe those are pretty much it. Like, those are the 8. And so these different combinations will describe how the different personalities use information. And so the way that you actually look at cognitive functions in particular, this might be like a very deep episode. This is probably too much information too quickly, but maybe it'll help someone, so I'll continue. But the thing is like, once you like actually identify what your personality type is, you can then figure out, you can then use that information to look at your cognitive functions. And then from those cognitive functions, which I'm not going to explain here, I think that would be like a whole college lesson. But basically you can use that information to figure out, all right, well, how do I process information? And then what are the cognitive functions, or what practices can I use in order to become the best and most well-rounded version of myself? So to give you an example, I'll use myself as an example. Like, I am an INTJ. I am introverted, intuitive, a logical decision maker, and a judger. And so as that kind of person, like, my first cognitive function is going to be introverted intuition, which is basically a fancy way of saying that I walk into places and I immediately start like looking for patterns and trying to figure out like, okay, well, is this a conducive environment? Is there something wrong with this environment? Right? Is there something wrong here? Is there something right here? And I'm genuinely just looking for patterns and I'm trying to anticipate things all of the time. This is the way that my brain works. And so your first cognitive function is actually one that you pretty much have when you come out the womb. Like, this is the first function that you have. The second function that you have is something that develops in early childhood. This is all based on behavioral and developmental psychology, right? So your second one is going to be based on that. And so as an INTJ, my second one is going to be extroverted thinking. And then so extroverted thinking works with my introverted intuition to say like, okay, well, based on the information that I have, this is what I'm going to do. And so it makes me really good at planning and executing things, right? And so it's a decision-making function that complements my primary analysis function. And so this is where things get kind of weird and kind of complicated, is the third cognitive function is going to be based on how, like, this is something that you develop in like adolescence, and this one is the exact opposite of your first cognitive function. So as somebody who has introverted intuition first, extroverted sensing is third for me. And so what this means is extroverted sensing is one's ability to be present, right? To pay attention to what they see and smell and hear and just be in the moment, right? Somebody who's really high in extroverted sensing is somebody who's really good at just enjoying the moment. And they're probably a lot of fun to be around. Now, this is my third cognitive function, which means like if I work on it, this is something that I can do effectively, but it doesn't come natural to me. Right. And so the fourth cognitive function is one that takes a lot of work. A lot of people don't ever really fully develop their fourth cognitive function. It's usually the most uncomfortable to develop for people. And for me in particular, like this function is very difficult to talk about. And this is my ability to feel introvertedly, right? Introverted feeling. And so introverted feeling is one sense of morality. Or one sense of right and wrong, and effectively asking whenever they're going into a new situation, asking, well, how does this make me feel, right? What do I think of this? And I'm introverted feeling is just the last on my list. And I really don't think I particularly enjoy sharing how I feel with other people, much less thinking about it myself. I'd much rather say like, hey, well, this situation is like not advantageous for me, or this situation is not as good as it can be. Well, what can we implement or what can we change to make this better? And so like, I know a lot of people can think that way of thinking is robotic. To each their own, they can have their opinions. And the fact is like 70% of the world are emotional decision makers. Like 70% of people, like they feel, like they're feelers. And I think that feeling is extremely important, and it's something that I value in other people. And once again, like I love other people. I love different perspectives, and I love getting to connect and understand other people. But at the end of the day, introverted feeling is last in my stack. And that doesn't mean it's not something that I'm not able to work on. But what it does mean is it's not something that comes natural to me. And once again, knowing your cognitive functions gives you the phenomenal opportunity to become the best and most well-rounded version of yourself. And you can accomplish that by really looking at that third and fourth cognitive function and saying, hey, well, I'm going to do the hard work of becoming better when it comes to, at least for me, right? I'm going to do the hard work when it comes to being better at being present. And I'm going to do the hard work of being better when it comes to really paying attention to how I feel about things, right? And so by doing this, I was able personally to develop a stronger sense of empathy, right? A stronger sense of care and compassion for other people. And I think more than anything else, I'm just able to better connect with people. And like extroverted sensing, that ability to stay present definitely helps as well. So I highly recommend looking into 16personalities.com, figuring out what your Myers-Briggs Type Indicator or your Myers-Briggs Type is, and then going one step further and figuring out what the cognitive functions are that are associated with your type, and doing the hard work of working on that third and fourth function and becoming comfortable with them so you can become the most well-rounded and the best version of yourself. In the next episode, I will talk about self-limiting beliefs, because I think it ties in very nicely with this one. That's all I got for today. And I don't think I said today's date. It is April 16th, April 17th, something like that. I want to say it's April 17th. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Peace.